Okay, so we're going to go into lesson 16D, and then we're going to move into lesson 18, part B. So we're skipping a few lessons. We're going to be looking at the y-intercept, and then we're going to also be looking at the actual equation of a line. You may remember those from Algebra 1. It says in lesson 16C, we found the slope using two of the ordered pairs that are shown in the table below. Notice we can use any 2 points. If we used the first 2 points, this is x, this is y. This top part is the change in the x value. I said that wrong. The change in the y value over the change in the x. So our y value changed from 99.99 to 109.99. We always do y2 minus y1, and then over the change in x. And x changed from 2 to 3. So that's x2 minus x1. And we got this $10 per one phone. That's our slope. Notice that when we used the second 2 points, we use these two. In this case, the change in y was 139.99 minus 109.99. And the change in the number of phones, we went from 3 to 6, so 6 minus 3. But we got that same $10 for one phone. So how much would we need to pay if we only wanted one phone? What if we wanted this plan with no phones? Well, I can't imagine why you would want a cell phone plan with no phones. But remember, what's happening here is when this goes up by 1, this goes up by 10. That's our slope. M is equal to $10 for every one phone. So if we want one less phone, we could subtract $10. That would give us $89.99. And if we subtract again, we get $79. Excuse me, $79.99. So we can continue this pattern down until our X column or our X row is all the way down to 0. It says create a coordinate plane like the one shown, then graph all the data points from the cost table, draw a line. If we did this, and I'm going to round these when I graph them, that's 80, 90, 100. That's that whole penny trick of trying to make it seem like it's less than it is. So we start here at 0, 80. Then we're at 1, 90. Then 2 is at 100. And then 3 is at 110. And 6 is all the way up to 140. This makes a nice straight line. And it's hard to draw because I'm on this tablet. But you can see it would go through all of these points, all the way up to here in a nice straight line. This line has a slope that we've already found out. That slope is $10 for every one phone. So when we add a phone, we go up from 80 to 90. When we add a phone, we go from 90 to 100. This point over here has a special name we're going to talk about in this lesson. That's going to be our y-intercept. It's the point where we cross the y-axis, or what happens at x equals 0. It says the Smiths are also thinking about adding some premium channels to their cable package. They surveyed some friends and discovered the information shown in the table. Inspect the table to determine the slope of the relationship between the cost of the cable service and the number of premium channels. So, let's just look at this slope then. What changes? So this is our x, this is our y. We know that the slope, and I don't know why we use a lowercase m for slope. It is the change in y over the change in x. So y went up to 99.95. It was 54.98. And the number of phones, or the number of premium channels went up to 4. It used to be 1. So now we do need a calculator. I have 99.95 minus 54.98. It gives me 44.97. And of course, 4 minus 1 is 3. So that comes out to be, the top part is number, is dollars, so $14.99. And of course, the bottom is for 1 premium channel. Now we can kind of double check that and go, well, what's $99.95 plus $14.99? And sure enough, that goes up to $114.94. So we can see our pattern works. What is the cost of this package with no premium channels? Well, that means we have to go back to 0. We don't have that column, but if I have 0 channels, it's going to be $54.98 minus $14.99. It's going to be $39.99. So if this had started at 0 and we just had the cable but no premium channels, it'd be $39.99. Every time we add a premium channel, it goes up $14.99. It says predict the cost of cable service if the Smiths order 6 premium channels, and then explain. Well, we just found that this was $39.99. So if we want 6 premium channels, think about our cost. It's going to be the $39.99. That's the basic price without any premium channels, plus 6 times this $14.99 for each premium channel. So there's our basic cable, 6 times 14.99. They're paying, that would add $89.94 for those premium channels. That's $129.93. Now, you may think, oh, that was a hardware misuse. The other thing I could have done is said, look, if I know this, 5 channels is $114.94, and I just want to add one more of those $14.99 channels. This will also come out $129.93. I like this though because this kind of gives us a formula. It gives us the idea that the cost is going to equal $39.99 plus $14.99 times, and I'm just going to call it N, where N is the number of premium channels. So we can get 1 premium channel, 2 premium channel. We have an equation that would tell us whatever we need. Okay, now this next lesson is actually something totally different. It's called backing out the sales tax. It says you will understand that undoing a percentage increase is not the same as a decrease by the same percentage. You will be able to write and interpret an expression that models a percentage increase or decrease and use expressions and equations to solve contextual problems about percentage increase or decrease. So we're going back to this idea of percents. Occasionally an advertisement will say, we pay the sales tax for you. What is the difference between this and a sales tax holiday? Well, in a sales tax holiday, nobody pays the sales tax. Normally in Texas, we pay 8.25%, 8.25%. I'll write that in. In Texas, because this varies from different states, the sales tax rate is 8.25%. And some of that, I believe it's a state sales tax, and some of that it goes to your local government. In a sales tax holiday, no one pays that. In a sales situation with a business, they will pay your tax for you. It says Bubba buys a new coat at a local store for $183.96, which includes a 9.5% sales tax. What is the price of this coat without the tax? Well, think about what he paid. He paid for the coat, so he paid the price, plus he paid the tax. Now, the tax in this case why is that not erasing? That is so funny that it doesn't want to erase that line there. Let's try again. Why is it not letting me choose eraser? Okay, I don't know what it's doing that, but he's going to play the price, plus he's going to play 0.095 times the price. That's the sales tax. So he basically pays 1.095 times the price. And in this case, that equaled $183.96. So in order to find the price, we have to use our algebra skills. If I want to know what the price was, and remember, this is like a 1 here. He paid the price plus this extra little fraction, this 9.5% of the price. So if I want to know price, I'm going to divide, and I'm going to follow my rule for equations. If I divide this side, that is just going to be P, any number divided by itself. But if I do it over here, I have to do it over here. So 183.96 divided by 1.095 is $168. It came out to be an even amount. We can kind of double check that. He's going to pay $168 plus this 0.095 times 168. That's how you get tax. 0.095 times 168. That's $15.96. And that's $183.96. So we definitely got the right answer. It works. Now, what you do not want to do is say, oh, the sales tax is 9.5%. I'll just take this price, 183.96, and just multiply it by 9.5%. So if I multiply that by 0.095, that would give me $17.48. That would be the sales tax on this much of a purchase. It's not the correct amount for a coat that costs $168. If you do this, you're going to get too much sales tax. If I subtract that, and you're going to think the coat costs $166.48, and you're going to be wrong, okay? You need to follow this method that we did right here, okay? You can't just take 9.5% of what you paid and say that's the sales tax. It said at some events, Eduardo and Paula have to charge sales tax. This means that the total charge is no longer rounded to the nearest dollar, and they have to take the time to calculate the customer's change again. For example, for a V-neck tee, they need to charge about $15 to make a profit. With 7.5% tax, the total cost to the customer is $16.13. Paula decides to set the prices so that they come out to an even dollar amount after the tax is added. So for the V-neck tee, they want the total after-tax price to be $17. Okay, so they've decided they're just going to say the price including tax is $17. And we've got some important, here's our tax rate, and here's what we want to sell it for. The spreadsheet below gives the amounts Eduardo and Paula want to charge after tax, so they have all of these different amounts. Calculate the prices before tax if the tax rate is 7.5%. So remember, they're going to pay 1.075. That's the price plus the sales tax. And they want that to equal the after price tax, in this case $17. If we divide $17 by 1.075, that means the actual cost would be $15.81. So they've gone up from charging $15 to making a little higher, but they won't have to worry about making change. The formula is going to be the same for the next one, 1.075 times P, only this time it equals 19. So we take the 19, we divide it by 1.075. That's going to be 1767. Same thing if we do the 12 divided by 1.075. It's 1116. 42 divided by 1.075. It's 3907. 64 divided by 1.075 is 5953. And 17, that's going to be the same as we did before, divided by 1.075, 1581. What formula could Paula use in cell B2 to calculate the well, the formula is just going to be whatever this quantity is. So for B2 is equal to C2 divided by 1.075. Similarly, B3 would be equal to C3 divided by 1.075. So if you were doing this in like an Excel spreadsheet, you get the formula. It says match each expression in column A to the equivalent in column B. X plus 0.45x, that increases x by 45%. Because you're going to get 1x plus an increase of 45%. So 1 is going to be B. 0.45 of x is like decreasing x by 0.55%. Do we have a decrease x by, that would decrease x by 0.55%, because this would be like x minus 0.55x, if you think about it. So that one, I'm getting H. X minus 0.55x is going to be 0.45x. So that's 45% of x. Do we see 45% of x? No. That is a decrease, though, of 55%. So do we see a decrease of 55%? Yes. Notice these two are equal. X minus 0.55x is the same as 0.45x. 2 and 3 are both h. That's interesting, isn't it? 0.45x, x minus 0.55x is 0.45x because that's 1x. All right, 1.45x, that is 45% more than just 1x because that's like 1x plus 0.45x. So that's a 45% increase. That's B again. That's increasing x by 45%. 1 and 4 are the same thing. What is 3.45x? Well, 3.45 as a whole, that's 345%. But that's not an increase in 345%. That's an increase of 245% because that's x plus 2.45x. Okay? It's 345% times x, but remember, 1x is already 100%. So it's an increase of 245%. So 5 would be F. These are kind of tricky. You have to really think about it. 1x is the same as 100% of x. 2x is a 100% increase. It's x plus x. Think about that. They're slightly different meanings. 1x is just 100% of x or x. 2x is 200% of x or a 100% increase. So 2.45x is only an increase of 1.45%. So that one would be D. X plus 0.55x, that's going to be 1.55x. That's an increase of 55%. That's C. X minus 0.45x, that is a decrease of 45%. A decrease of 45%, that's J. And then 9 is 0.55x. That is a decrease of x of 45%. Because if you do 1 minus 0.45, you get 0.55. These two are equal, so they have the same meaning. And that does conclude this slide presentation.